Now that we have finished our sketching, it is time to start working in Affinity Designer. If you need to get a new idea out quickly on the paper, feel free to go back to the sketching phase. The first thing that we need to do in Affinity Designer is open up a new document to work with. Come up to the File menu and choose New. I'm not too worried about the size of this document because we're not dealing with the export right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just click OK. This is a web document. You could convert to a print document later if you're going to be using your logo in a print setting like a business card or on a flyer. But this document is just for designing the logo. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK with this. And we immediately get an artboard. Now we're going to make another artboard here as well. And I'm going to show you why. Because let's say I draw something here and then I want to put that thing onto the pasteboard around the outside of my document. You can't see it because the pasteboard is not showing. However, if we add another artboard by coming up to the top left and under the move tool choosing the artboard tool, and we choose insert artboard, then our pasteboard becomes available to us again. So we're just going to choose the document and choose insert. And then we have two artboards, which is fine. We might need plenty of room to work on this logo. So now if we come grab our move tool, let's change this to black, and then we drag this out, then we can actually see it on the pasteboard, which will be really helpful later on. Now, if you've watched any of my courses on icon design before, this next part is going to be familiar to you. I am going to break down the logo that I am creating into its component shapes and then build it out of those shapes in Affinity Designer. Quick tip on Affinity Designer: if you want to zoom in, hold down Option or Alt on your keyboard and scroll with your mouse wheel. Alright, so I'm just going to zoom in a little here, and I'm going to start by making the logo that's coming from my sketch that shows the location pin icon with the headphones on it. I think that could really convey the concept that Audio Everywhere is trying to portray. So I'm going to go ahead and start by making the component shapes. I know that there is a circle involved in this pin. So let's go ahead and make a circle. I'm going to jump over here to my swatches panel on the top right and switch to colors. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this red. Just for now. We can mess with the colors later, but just as I'm designing and dealing with it, it'll just be easier for me to see this as red. And then I know that the pin part needs to be a triangle. And so I'm just going to start by making it a triangle. There's a couple different ways that we can design the pin part. Grabbing my move tool, I'm going to come here to the top handle and rotate that guy. Holding down Shift snaps it into 15-degree increments, and I just want that to be a straight 180 down. Now I'm going to put it in the middle of this circle, like so. Kind of get it to a point where I think it looks good. I don't want it to kind of come off the edge and get these corners here. I don't want that arrow look. I just want it to look like a pin. Okay, so that's the beginning of my shape. I know that I'm going to need another circle though to show the inside of the shape. So I'm going to select my circle with my move tool and then hit Command C to copy and Command V to paste. It will by default paste that right on top of the other circle. So if you jump over to the layers panel over here, you can see that I now have two ellipses on Artboard 1, and I'm going to make that ellipse white. And then I'm going to drag that in front of the triangle, and then I need to scale it down so that it looks like there's a hole in this pin. Holding down Command on the keyboard, I'm using a Mac, so it's Command on the keyboard, will make this size towards the center. And you can see it's still free sizing, so if I hold down Shift, it will constrain the size. So just get that to where I want it to be. And now we have our basic component shapes for the pin all laid out. So the next thing that we need to do as far as this pin goes is start using the geometry functions to combine it into one object. But before I do that, I always want to save what I have so that I can always get back and make changes to it later. with my move tool, I will select all of the shapes. Holding down Option on the keyboard, I will drag these off onto the pasteboard just to save those for later in case I need them. Okay, so the next thing will be to go ahead and create the merge. So selecting the red circle and selecting the red triangle, I'll come up here to the top right corner of the user interface, and the first one of these geometry options here is combine, or they call it add in Affinity Designer. And I'll click that, and now I have this one single shape. You can see there. Okay, now I want to subtract my circle from my red shape. So I'll select my circle, hold down Shift, select my red, and then choose subtract. Okay, and that has actually subtracted that from there. So now we've got our pin, and the next thing that we need to do is create the headphones. So this is where it's useful to have saved things. I think the best way to go about creating these headphones is going to be to actually use this original circle and then make it larger. So I'm going to make a copy of this, holding down Option and dragging. I'm going to change it to black to differentiate it, and I'm just going to put it in front here. Okay, now I'm going to drag it behind, coming down to just check to make sure those are lined up exactly. They are. Select my ellipse from my layers panel. Now holding down Command, we're going to go out in proportion. We're going to go out until I think we have a good distance away from it to form the headphones. And then come back here, grab this circle, copy it again, put it right over that, and then we'll make it white so that we can see what we're doing. Drag it behind here. Holding down Command, we'll scale it up, and of course Shift to keep it in proportion. Okay, great. So now I'll select both of those, a white and my black, and then I'll choose subtract. And now I have the black with a hole in it, and grabbing my square, actually before I do that, I'm just going to drag my black over so that I have that later if I need to make adjustments. Grabbing a square tool, I'm going to go over the top here. Snap that in the middle. Choose my black circle and my black rectangle, and then just choose subtract. And now I have the beginnings of my headphones here. So the next thing that I need to do is make the earpieces. For that, I think I'm going to use rounded rectangles. Not loving how the square looks. I'm going to try and make it a little bit more rectangular. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Holding down Option on that, I'll drag that over and just snap that into place there. There we go. So now we have the basic layout of that logo using the component shapes and then the geometry tools to merge them together. So we just need to do that one more time. So we'll select all three of these. We will copy them off onto the pasteboard, and then selecting all three of them again, we'll choose our add to merge them together into one shape. So now we have the beginnings of our logo, and from here we're going to use what we have to go ahead and iterate on this idea and see if we can really bring it up to be the perfect logo that we are looking for.